The Premier League is almost back. The opening matches of the season are on the horizon. So, with that in mind, guys, it's one of my favourite shows to do. 5 matches that you should be looking out for this weekend. So we've obviously got 10 matches in all the way from Friday night to Monday night. A 4-day weekend of action to start the Premier League campaign. This is what we love at the end of the day. I'm so glad it's back. As fun as the Euros and the Olympics were, this is where the real action is, guys. Let's be honest here. So, let's kick it off. Let's go into which matches that I'm keeping an eye out for this weekend, and also my predictions for what I think the scores are going to be. So, the Premier League campaign for 24-25 kicks off with Manchester United playing Fulham at Old Trafford. Now, Man United, of course, they came so close to winning the Community Shield this weekend, just gone at Wembley, only losing it on penalties to Manchester City. They had pretty much a makeshift side given the fact they have so many injuries, and that is going to affect their squad at the end of the day. We might well see the likes of Fernandes again playing as a bit of a false 9 up front, which is less than ideal. Fulham, meanwhile, they've made some good signings this summer, and I do think they'll be comfortable mid-table, to be honest with you. I think they'll have a better season overall than last season, and they did pick it up a little bit more towards the end of last season too, so there is that. I do think Man United are going to have too much for them, to be honest, but I also think it'll be quite close. Let's go with a 2-1 victory to Man United. My favourite scoreline. You're probably going to hear it a few times today, but yeah. So the Saturday lunchtime kickoff involves Liverpool again, a new manager for Liverpool in the form of Arne Slot, but the same kickoff time, so hopefully he doesn't complain about it as much as Klopp did. They play against Ipswich Town, who are playing in their first Premier League campaign in over 20 years. This will take place at Portman Road, 12:30 kickoff, Saturday the 17th of August. But what is my score predictions? Well, if you listen to my bold predictions for the Premier League, I've predicted both Ipswich Town to stay up and also Liverpool to miss out on the top 4. They might still get the Champions League, though. They could win the Champions League, or they could finish top 5, and that still be a Champions League spot because of the way the UEFA coefficient and all that good stuff does work. So I'm predicting Liverpool to struggle a little bit this season, but I still think they're just going to have too much for Ipswich. I'm going to go with an entertaining game, though. I'm going to go for an entertaining game for Ipswich's first game in the Premier League in a long time, for McKenna's first ever Premier League game as a manager, and for Slot's first ever game as a Premier League manager too. I'm going to go with 3-2 to Liverpool. I think it's going to be fun, entertaining, but let's see what happens with that. Next up, another newly promoted side, Southampton, an absolute stinker of an away trip all the way to Newcastle. That is a long journey for the Saints fans. At least they're getting it out of the way early though, and that's no disrespect to Newcastle. They're a great club with an incredible stadium, but you can't deny that's like a 7-hour round trip, isn't it? It's about 3 hours from where I live to Newcastle. So from Southampton to Newcastle, that's a long way up north. Southampton obviously getting promoted last season via the playoffs. Newcastle had a bit of a disappointing season last season, but they were ravaged by injuries too. The pressure is definitely on Newcastle to perform again this season, get back into Europe. They missed out on Europe because of their placing in the end, and Man United winning the FA Cup. So what's going to happen with these guys? Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go for an entertaining draw. Southampton have made some decent signings this summer. Brereton Diaz, who was on loan at Sheffield United, my club last season, was one of the few bright spots in what was an otherwise dismal campaign for the Blades last season in the Premier League. I think they've got some good players, Southampton, and the momentum of last season will carry forward into this one. I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go for 2-2 between these two. Desmond, as it was. Next up, we've got the Super Sunday fixture. Chelsea against Manchester City. Manchester City, obviously, 4-time in a row Premier League champions. Chelsea signing everybody and their mother and their aunt and their grandmother for their team. This summer, they have like over 40 players. They have like 7 goalkeepers registered to the first team. Enzo Maresca, I think, is going to be a good manager. And you know, on top of that as well, he is a former protege of Pep Guardiola. There's 3 of them in the top 6 Premier League clubs now, with Arteta as well, if you include Guardiola himself. What's going to happen with this one? You know, I kind of want to say a draw, to be honest, just to make it entertaining, but I just think Chelsea they've got too much going on. There's too many players that have come in. Man City are not really firing on all cylinders. They weren't amazing in the Community Shield, but they did rest a lot of players. They've played a lot of youth players and still managed to get a draw in the end in regulation time against Man United, albeit with a lot of big guns coming off the bench in the last stages. So I still think Man City are going to have too much for Chelsea. I'm going to go with 3-1 to City with this one. And I would like to say that City will drop points for, you know, bit of a surprise, but I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Chelsea need time to gel this new squadron, not a new squad, a squadron together, and this new small army they've assembled at Stamford Bridge. So yeah, let's see what happens with that. And the last one I'm going to highlight is the last of the 3 promoted sides, Leicester City, back in the Premier League with the absolute looming disaster cloud of top breaches above their heads. We'll see what happens with that. Of course, I personally think they're going to get a massive points deduction, but I don't know what happens with that. In terms of their actual squad, though, they look decent, and against Tottenham Hotspur on the Monday night fixture, it could be close, you know. It could be close. Spurs have made some okay signings this summer. Solanke is a really good one in my opinion, but he'll need a bit of time to get used to this system, I think. But then again, he could well just slot in and score a couple of goals in this one too. He was so impressive for Bournemouth last season, and I think it's an excellent signing for Tottenham. What's going to happen with this one? Well, I'm going to go for Spurs to win, but I'm going to go for an entertaining game as well. Let's go with 3-2 to Tottenham on this one. I think Leicester will do decent in terms of their actual performances this season, but I think they may well get relegated because of the points deductions they're probably going to get. So yeah, there we go, guys. Those are my predictions for these 5 Premier League games. Which games are you going to be looking out for in the opening match day of the Premier League season? Let us know in the comments below. Who do you think is going to win the Premier League as well? And of course, keep it subscribed, follow, like, share, comment, ring the bell as well for much more content on the world of football here on thefootballchronicle.com.